The phone rang for the fourth time that morning. I looked at the screen. Mom. Again. I set down my coffee cup and watched it buzz against the kitchen counter. My husband Tom glanced up from his newspaper, raising an eyebrow in that knowing way he'd perfected over 32 years of marriage. You going to answer that? He asked gently. I shook my head. Not this time. The ringing stopped, then started again almost immediately. For 58 years I had answered every call, every cry for help, every last-minute emergency, every guilt-soaked request that somehow always ended with me dropping everything while my brother Mark got a free pass with barely an excuse. But something had shifted in me 3 weeks ago. Something fundamental and permanent. I had finally understood a truth that should have been obvious decades earlier. I had spent my entire life trying to earn a love that was given freely and abundantly to someone else. I had twisted myself into shapes I didn't recognize, hoping that if I just tried harder, gave more, sacrificed better, my mother would finally look at me the way she looked at Mark, with pride, with admiration, with uncomplicated, effortless love. It never happened. And now at 79 years old, Mom was calling me in a panic because Mark was nowhere to be found. Again. The golden child who could do no wrong had somehow become unavailable the moment real responsibility appeared at the door. I picked up my coffee and took a long, slow sip. Tom reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Proud of you, he whispered. The phone finally stopped ringing. For the first time in my life, I felt something unfamiliar wash over me. Peace. I grew up in a modest 3-bedroom house in Cedar Falls, Iowa, with parents who worked hard and believed in traditional values. Dad was a foreman at the local manufacturing plant. Mom stayed home until Mark and I were both in school, then took a part-time job at the library. From the outside we looked like a normal, happy family. But inside that house there was an invisible hierarchy that everyone understood but nobody discussed. Mark was born first, arriving 2 years before me with a full head of dark hair and lungs that could wake the neighborhood. Mom loved to tell the story of his birth. How perfect he was. How the nurses all commented on what a beautiful baby boy she had. How Dad had tears in his eyes when he first held his son. When I came along, the story was different. Mom never talked about my birth with the same wonder. The few times she mentioned it, she'd sigh and say I was a difficult baby. Colicky. Fussy. Nothing like my brother. I learned early that Mark could do no wrong. When he broke Mom's favorite vase playing baseball in the house, it was an accident. Boys will be boys. When I accidentally spilled juice on her cookbook, it was carelessness. Why wasn't I being more careful? When Mark brought home C's on his report card, Mom would say he was too creative for conventional schooling. When I brought home A's with 1 B+, she'd ask why I couldn't do better in that one subject. Mark wanted to play football. Dad built him a practice area in the backyard, and Mom never missed a game, even in the rain. I wanted to take piano lessons. Mom said we couldn't afford it. Even though they just bought Mark new football equipment, I tried not to let it hurt. I told myself that parents loved their children differently, not less. That Mom simply related better to Mark because he was more outgoing, more charismatic. But it did hurt. It hurt in ways I couldn't articulate as a child. High school brought no relief. Mark was popular, athletic, surrounded by friends. Mom beamed when she talked about him at church or the grocery store. She kept his football trophies on the mantle like they were Olympic gold medals. I was quiet, studious, and involved in the school newspaper. I won a statewide writing competition my junior year. Mom put the certificate in a drawer. When Mark barely graduated and decided to skip college to work at a friend's construction company, Mom supported his choice. He was finding his own path. He was too independent for traditional education. When I received a full academic scholarship to the University of Iowa, Mom worried I was getting too big for my britches. Did I think I was better than everyone else? Why did I need college anyway? I should find a nice young man and settle down. I went to college anyway. I met Tom there. He was studying engineering and I was majoring in English education. He came from a large, warm family where love was distributed equally and expressed freely. The first time I had dinner with his parents, his mother hugged me like she'd known me forever. His father asked about my classes and actually listened to my answers. I cried in Tom's dorm room that night because I'd never felt so seen. We married the summer after graduation. Mom didn't help plan the wedding. She was too busy helping Mark move into a new apartment with his girlfriend. Tom and I built a good life together. We bought a small house in Riverside, about 2 hours from Cedar Falls. I taught middle school English. Tom worked his way up to senior engineer at a manufacturing firm. We had 2 daughters, Emily and Sarah, who are now grown with families of their own. We didn't become wealthy, but we were comfortable. More importantly, we were happy. Meanwhile, Mark moved from job to job. Construction work dried up. He tried selling insurance but hated it. He worked at a car dealership for a while. Each time he switched careers, Mom had an explanation. The boss didn't appreciate him. The market was bad. He was too talented to be stuck in a regular job. Mark married twice. Both marriages ended badly. He had a son he rarely saw. Child support was draining him dry. According to Mom, who sent him money regularly to help out, I bit my tongue through all of it. When Dad died 7 years ago, Mom leaned on Mark emotionally. Never mind that I was the one who drove up every weekend to help with medical appointments and paperwork. Never mind that Tom and I paid for half the funeral expenses because Mark was going through a tough time financially. At the funeral, Mom clung to Mark's arm. She introduced him to people as my rock. I stood 3 feet away, invisible. After Dad passed, Mom stayed in the family house alone. Mark lived 40 minutes away but rarely visited. I called every Sunday. I drove up once a month to help with yard work, repairs, and cleaning. I took her to doctor appointments when they conflicted with Mark's work schedule, which was always. Mom never thanked me. But she constantly praised Mark for the smallest gestures. He called her once in a while? What a devoted son. He stopped by for 20 minutes? Nobody had a son like her, Mark. I swallowed the resentment. I told myself I was being petty, that I should be grateful I had the ability to help, that adult children should care for their aging parents regardless of recognition. Tom saw through it all. She takes you for granted, he'd say after I'd returned from a weekend of cleaning Mom's gutters or organizing her medications. You don't have to keep doing this. She's my mother, I'd reply. And Mark is her son. Where is he? I never had a good answer. Everything changed last spring. Mom fell in her kitchen and fractured her hip. A neighbor found her 6 hours later when she noticed Mom's newspaper still on the porch at noon. The ambulance took her to the hospital in Cedar Rapids. The hospital called me. Not Mark. Me. I dropped everything and drove 2 hours in a panic. Tom called his office to say he'd be out for a few days and came with me. Mom was in surgery when we arrived. The nurse said she'd be in recovery for several hours. Have you contacted her other children? The nurse asked. She has a son, I said. I've been calling him. It keeps going to voicemail. Tom's jaw tightened, but he didn't say anything. Mark finally called back 3 hours later. Hey, sorry, I was in a meeting, he said casually. What's up? Mom fractured her hip. She's in surgery. Silence. Then, oh man. That's rough. Is she going to be okay? They think so, but she'll need months of recovery. Physical therapy. She can't live alone during that time. Wow. That's a lot. He sighed. I wish I could help out, but you know how it is. Work is crazy right now. I'm up for a promotion and I can't miss any days. Something in me went very still. Mark, Mom needs family right now. And she's got you, he said. His tone somehow both relieved and dismissive. You're so good at this stuff, Linda. You know I just mess it up anyway. Mom always says you're the organized one. I have a job too. And a life. Yeah, but your job is teaching. You get summers off, right? And your kids are grown. Mine just got hired at his job, and I need to be available for him. I closed my eyes. Your son is 23 years old. Family is family, Mark said with impressive audacity. Anyway, keep me posted on how Mom's doing. I'll try to visit when things calm down at work. He hung up. Tom watched me carefully. What did he say? He said I'm the organized one. Tom's expression darkened in a way I rarely saw. Linda. I know, I whispered. I know. The surgery went well, but recovery was brutal. Mom needed help with everything. Bathing, dressing, getting to the bathroom, physical therapy appointments 3 times a week. The hospital social worker recommended a rehabilitation facility. Absolutely not, Mom said firmly from her hospital bed. I'm not going to one of those places where they warehouse old people. I'm going home. Mrs. Patterson, you can't manage alone right now, the social worker explained gently. I won't be alone. My daughter will stay with me. Mom looked at me expectantly. My stomach dropped. Mom, I can't move in for months. I have my own home. My job. Tom. School's almost out for the summer, Mom interrupted. You said so yourself. And Tom can visit on weekends. Unless you're too busy for your own mother. There it was. The guilt. The manipulation. The unspoken accusation that I was selfish for having my own life. I looked at Tom. He gave me a small nod that said, your choice. I support you either way. What about Mark? I asked. He lives closer. Mom waved a dismissive hand. Mark has his job. You know how demanding it is. He's trying to build something. Besides, he's not good with medical things. Remember when his father was sick? He got so upset. Yes, I remembered. Mark had shown up at the hospital twice, spent 20 minutes each visit, and then disappeared to process his emotions. I'd been there every single day. You're better at caregiving, Mom continued. You always have been. It's your nature. Not my nature. I wanted to scream. My training. My practice. My decades of being the only one who showed up. But I didn't scream. I nodded. I made arrangements to take family leave from school. I packed bags. Tom promised to hold down the fort at home and visit every weekend. The next 3 months were the hardest of my life. Mom's house was stuck in 1985. The furniture was worn. The kitchen appliances barely worked. The single bathroom was upstairs, which meant helping Mom navigate steps multiple times a day despite her injury. I woke at 6 to help Mom with her morning routine. Breakfast. Medications. Physical therapy exercises. Shower days were especially exhausting. Then doctor appointments, grocery shopping, cooking, cleaning, laundry, yard work, and more exercises. Mom complained constantly. The food wasn't seasoned right. I was doing the exercises wrong. I washed her favorite sweater incorrectly. The house was too cold, too hot, too something. Never a thank you. Never an acknowledgement of the life I'd put on hold. But when Mark called every 2 weeks for 10-minute conversations, Mom lit up like a Christmas tree. My wonderful boy, she'd coo. So busy, but he always makes time for his mother. I'd be standing right there, covered in cleaning sweat or exhausted from a physical therapy session, and I might as well have been furniture. Mark visited twice in 3 months. The first visit he stayed for an hour. He brought flowers and sat on the couch while I made him coffee. He chatted about his job, his new truck, his bowling league. Mom gazed at him adoringly. You work too hard, she told him. Don't forget to take care of yourself. To me, she said, Linda, you forgot to water my plants again. I had watered them that morning. The second visit, Mark arrived with his girlfriend, Stephanie. She was pleasant enough but clearly bored. They stayed 90 minutes. Mom served them the pie I'd baked that morning and told Stephanie what a successful businessman Mark was. When they left, Mom sighed contentedly. It's so nice when Mark visits, she said. He brightens up the whole house. I stared at her. I've been here for 3 months straight. Well, yes, but that's different. You're helping. Mark is busy living his life. Something cracked inside me. Tom arrived that Friday evening as he did every weekend. He took one look at my face and wrapped me in his arms. How bad? He asked quietly. I can't do this anymore. I whispered that we talked late into the night in the guest room. Tom held my hand and listened as I finally let out all the hurt and anger I've been swallowing for decades. You need to set boundaries, he said. Real ones. She's my mother. And you're a human being with your own life and your own worth. She's treated you like a servant your entire life. When does it end? When she realizes I matter too. Tom's eyes were sad. Baby, she's 79 years old. If she hasn't realized it by now, she's not going to. You can't keep sacrificing yourself for crumbs of affection. So what do? You decide what you're willing to give. And you stick to it. No guilt. No negotiation. I didn't sleep that night. By morning, something had shifted. A lifetime of hoping and trying and bending finally broke, and in its place was a strange, clear certainty I was done. Saturday morning, I sat Mom down at the kitchen table. We need to talk, I said. Mom looked up from her oatmeal. Is everything all right? No, it's not. She frowned. What's wrong? Did something happen? I took a breath. Mom, I've been here for 3 months. I put my life on hold completely. Tom is managing our home alone. I'm using all my family leave. And I've done it without complaint. Well, I appreciate. I'm not finished. My voice was steady. You haven't thanked me once. Not once. But Mark calls for 10 minutes, and you act like he's given you the world. He's visited twice in 3 months, and you praise him endlessly. I'm here every single day, and you criticize me. Mom's face went tight. I don't criticize you. You do. Constantly. The food, the cleaning, the exercises. Nothing I do is right. But Mark does nothing, and somehow that's fine because he's busy. Mark has a demanding job. So do I. And I gave it up to be here. Mark hasn't sacrificed anything. Mom's mouth set in a thin line. I don't like your tone. That's unfortunate because we need to have this conversation. I love you. I want to help you. But I can't keep doing this if you can't even acknowledge my effort. I never asked you to come here. The words hit like a slap. Tom, standing in the doorway, actually flinched. You absolutely did ask, I said quietly. In the hospital. You said I'd stay with you because I'm the organized one. The caregiver. The one who's better at this. Well, you are. And I need help. I can't be alone like this. Then Mark needs to step up. Mark has his life to live. And I don't. Silence. The truth hung in the air between us, finally spoken after 5 decades. Mom looked away. You're being dramatic. I'm being honest. For the first time, I'm being completely honest with you about how you've treated me my entire life. I've treated you fine. I've been a good mother. You've been a good mother to Mark. To me, you've been distant and critical and impossible to please. Do you know how many times I've tried to make you proud? How many awards I won, how many accomplishments I achieved, hoping you'd look at me the way you look at Mark. This is ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. It's my life. And I'm done living it for someone who doesn't see me. Mom's face reddened. So what? You're just going to abandon me? Leave me here alone. I'm going home to my husband and my life. You need more care than I can provide alone, and Mark needs to share the responsibility. I'll help, but I can't be the only one doing everything. Mark is busy. So am I. He has a demanding career. So did I. This is different. No, Mom. It's not different. It's exactly the same. You're just making excuses for him like you always have. Mom stood up, wobbling slightly. You're being selfish. And there it was. The final manipulation. The one that had worked for decades. But this time I felt nothing. If setting boundaries is selfish, then I'm selfish, I said calmly. I'll stay through the weekend to help you make arrangements. You can either hire home health care, go to a rehab facility, or call Mark. But come Monday, I'm going home. You can't do this to me. I can. And I am. I walked out of the kitchen. Tom followed me outside. We stood in the backyard, where the morning sun was burning off the dew. You okay? He asked. I don't know, I admitted. I feel like I just jumped off a cliff. You did. But I'm here. And you're not wrong. I called Mark that afternoon. Hey, what's up? He answered, distracted as always. Mom needs more help than I can provide alone. I'm going home Monday. You need to figure out a care plan with her. Silence. Then, wait, what? You're leaving. Yes. But she needs help. The physical therapy, the appointments. Then you'll handle it. Linda, I told you I have work. So do I. But you're on leave. Family leave. Which I've used. I'm going back to my life now. You can't just leave her alone. I almost laughed. I'm not. You are. She's your mother too. Yes. And she's your mother first, according to her. So now you get to step up. I don't know how to do all that care stuff. I'm not good at it. Neither was I, Mark. I learned. You can too. This isn't fair. You're right. It's not fair. It hasn't been fair for 3 months. Or for 58 years. But I'm done carrying everything alone. What am I supposed to do? Figure it out. You're a grown man. Mom raised you to be independent and capable. Time to prove it. I hung up. Mark called back 7 times that day. I didn't answer. Mom spent the weekend in cold silence, punishing me with the treatment that had worked so well when I was a child. But I'd outgrown the fear of her disapproval. Tom and I spent Saturday afternoon researching home health care options. We found 3 agencies with excellent reviews. I printed out the information and left it on Mom's kitchen table. Sunday evening, I packed my bags. Mom watched from her chair, lips pressed together. "This is how you treat your mother," she said. "This is how I treat myself," I replied. "With the respect I deserve. Mark won't be able to help. Then you'll need to hire someone." "I can't afford it." "Yes, you can. Dad left you the house free and clear, and you have his pension plus Social Security. Mark told you that you were broke so you'd send him money, but you're not broke." Her face confirmed I'd hit the truth. "You'll regret this," she said. "Maybe, but I won't regret it more than I'd regret staying." Tom carried my bags to the car. I hugged Mom briefly. She didn't hug back. We drove away as the sun set behind the Iowa cornfields. I cried for an hour. Then I stopped crying and started feeling something I hadn't felt in years, free. The next few weeks were interesting. Mark called me constantly. Mom needed help with appointments. Her physical therapy was scheduled. Someone had to pick up prescriptions. The lawn needed mowing. "I'm sorry you're struggling," I told him calmly. "There are home health care agencies in Cedar Falls." I left the information on Mom's table. "Those cost money." "Yes, they do. Can't you just come up on weekends?" "No. Linda, come on. Don't be like this." "Like what? Like someone with boundaries? Like someone who values her own time?" "You're being cold." "I'm being clear. This isn't my responsibility alone." "It never was." He tried a different approach. "Mom's really upset. She talks about you constantly. I think she's depressed." "Then maybe you should visit her more often." "I do visit." "Mark, you visited twice in 3 months. Because you were there. She didn't need me. She always needed you. She just wanted me." He didn't have an answer for that. Mom called too. First angry, then hurt, then manipulative. "I suppose you're happy now," she said in one call. "Leaving your elderly mother to fend for herself. You're not fending for yourself. Mark is there. Mark is busy. So am I. You've changed. You're not the daughter I raised." "No," I agreed. "I'm not. I'm better." The calls became less frequent. Then they stopped. Through mutual friends, I heard that Mom had finally hired a home health aide who came 3 times a week. Mark visited every Sunday for an hour or so, and Mom complained about him being unreliable. I felt a dark satisfaction at that. My daughters, Emily and Sarah, supported me completely. They'd watched their grandmother favor Mark for years and knew what I'd endured. "About time, Mom," Emily said when I told her what happened. "Grandma's been taking advantage of you forever." "I feel guilty," I admitted. "You shouldn't. You gave her months of your life. She couldn't even say thank you." Sarah was more blunt. "Grandma made her choices. Now she gets to live with them." Summer passed. I returned to teaching in the fall, grateful to be back in my classroom with students who appreciated my effort. Tom and I took a weekend trip to the Ozarks, something we'd been planning for years but kept postponing. I didn't call Mom. She didn't call me. It hurt. But it hurt less than breaking myself had hurt. In October, Mark called. "Mom fell again," he said, his voice stressed. "Nothing broken this time, but she's getting weaker. The home health aide says she shouldn't be living alone anymore." Okay. That's all you have to say. What do you want me to say, Mark?" "I don't know. Help me figure this out. There are options. Assisted living facilities. Moving in with family. In-home full-time care. Those all cost money or space." "Yes, they do. She can't move in with me. My place is too small and Stephanie and I, well, it wouldn't work." "I understand. Could she move in with you?" I laughed. Actually laughed. "No, Linda. Mark, let me be very clear. I love Mom. I hope she gets the care she needs. But she will not be moving into my home after a lifetime of treating me like an afterthought. I will help research facilities. I will visit occasionally. But I will not append my life again for someone who can't even acknowledge my existence. She's our mother. And I'm her daughter. Which she's never fully accepted. You deal with this. You're the golden child. The favored one. the one who could do no wrong. Now's your chance to prove you deserve that pedestal she put you on. Silence. I don't know how to do this alone, he whispered. Something in his voice caught me. Not manipulation this time. Genuine fear. You're not alone, I said more gently. I'll help you research options. I'll go with you to tour facilities if you want. But I'm not going to swoop in and take over. This is shared responsibility or nothing. Okay. He sounded defeated. Okay. We spent the next 2 weeks looking at assisted living facilities within 30 minutes of both of us. We found one that was clean, affordable with Mom's savings, and had great reviews. Mark and I went to tell Mom together that she'd aged noticeably in 6 months. Smaller. Frielier. The house looked neglected despite the home health aides' efforts that we sat in the living room. I let Mark explain. Mom, we found a really nice place. It's got activities, good food, nursing staff on site. You'd have your own apartment but help whenever you need it. Mom looked between us. You're putting me in a home. We're finding you a safe place to live, I corrected. You can't manage here alone anymore. I'm managing fine. You're not. You fell again. You're losing weight. This house is too big for you. Mom's eyes filled with tears. I knew you'd do this eventually. Put me away somewhere so you don't have to deal with me. Mark shifted uncomfortably. Mom, it's not like that. You don't want me. Neither of you. I'm just a burden now. I looked at her. Really looked at her. An old woman who'd spent her life investing everything in one child and taking the other for granted. And now, when she needed both, one was incapable and the other was unwilling to be used anymore. Mom, I said quietly, this isn't about not wanting you. This is about what's safe and realistic. You need more care than either Mark or I can provide alone. This facility is a good place. I don't want to go. I know. But you can't stay here. You could move in with me again. You did it before. There it was. The assumption that I'd give up everything again. No, I said simply, her face crumpled. You hate me. I don't hate you. But I also don't owe you my entire life. I'm your mother. And I'm your daughter, which you've never treated as equally valuable. Mark looked between us, finally seeing what had always been there. Mom's tears fell. I don't understand where this is coming from. Yes, you do. You've always known. You just never cared because you had Mark, and I'd always come running anyway. That's not true. It is true. And I'm done pretending it's not. We sat in heavy silence. Finally, Mark spoke. Mom, we're not abandoning you. We're making sure you're safe. And I'll visit. I promise I'll visit regularly. Mom wiped her eyes. Will you visit? She asked me. Sometimes, I said honestly. But not every week. Not like before. Why not? Because I have my own life. And because you've never appreciated the life I gave up for you. Mom moved into Meadowview assisted living 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. Mark and I helped her pack, though he spent most of the time on his phone while I organized 50 years of accumulated belongings. Some things never change. But some things do. Mom's apartment at Meadowview was small but nice. 1 bedroom, a kitchenette, a bathroom with safety features, and a living area. She could bring her favorite furniture, her TV, her pictures. She cried the whole move-in day. Mark hugged her and promised to visit every Sunday. I said I'd come when I could. I can't believe my own children are doing this to me, Mom said as we left in the parking lot. Mark finally broke. I don't know how to do this, he said, leaning against his truck. I don't know how to be the person she needs. You always did that. Because I had to. You never had to learn because I was always there. I know. And I'm sorry. I really am. I didn't realize how much you did until you stopped doing it. It wasn't enough. But it was something. You'll figure it out, I said. Start by showing up. Actually showing up, not just calling for 10 minutes. He nodded. Will you help me? Sometimes. But this is your responsibility to now. You can't make me the default parent manager anymore. Fair enough. I drove home feeling lighter than I had in months. Thanksgiving came. Tom and I hosted, and our daughters and their families filled our house with noise and laughter. I didn't invite Mom. I didn't feel guilty about it. Mark called on Thanksgiving Day. I'm at Meadowview with Mom, he said. Brought her dinner. She's doing okay, I guess. She asked about you. That's nice. She looks sad. I imagine she does. Do you think you'll ever forgive her? I thought about it. I don't know. Maybe. But forgiveness doesn't mean going back to how things were. Yeah, I'm starting to get that. Christmas was similar. Our house, our family, our traditions. I sent Mom a card and a gift certificate. She sent nothing back. In January, Mark called with an update. Mom's adjusting better. She's made some friends. Joined a book club. Complains less. He paused. She talks about you more. What does she say? That she misses you. That she wonders what you're doing. That she wishes things were different. Wishes she'd treated me better. Or wishes I'd come back to being convenient. I think, maybe both. In February, Mom called me directly. First time since the move. Hello. I answered cautiously. Linda. Her voice was small. I was hoping we could talk. I'm listening. I've been doing some thinking. And some talking. With a counselor here. About how I've treated you. I said nothing. I wasn't a good mother to you, she continued, words clearly painful. I don't know why I favored Mark so much. Maybe because he was first. Maybe because he was a boy. Maybe because he needed me more. But none of that was fair to you. My throat tightened. You deserved better, Mom said. You deserved a mother who saw you, who celebrated you, who didn't take you for granted. And I'm sorry. The words I'd waited 5 decades to hear. They didn't magically heal everything, but they meant something. Thank you. I whispered. I know I can't undo how I've been, but I'd like to try to do better. If you're willing. No expectations. No demands. Just, maybe we could start over. Small. Small, I agreed. We can try small. We started with phone calls every other week. Brief. Surface level at first. Weather. Activities at Meadowview. My students. Tom's work projects. Then slowly deeper. Mom asked about my teaching. Really asked. Listened to the answers. Told me she was proud of the impact I had on students. I told her about Emily's promotion and Sarah's new house. She remembered the details and asked follow-up questions in the next call that in March I visited. Just me, no Mark. We had lunch in Meadowview's dining room. Mom looked better. Healthier. More engaged. I like it here, she admitted. I didn't think I would. But there's always something to do. People to talk to. I'm not lonely. I'm glad. And Mark visits every Sunday. Like clockwork. He's trying, I think. He is. She reached across the table and took my hand. I know I don't have the right to ask. But I'm asking anyway. Can we try to build something new? Not parent and child. Maybe just 2 women who share history and want to do better. I looked at our joined hands. Hers wrinkled and spotted with age. Mine strong and capable. We can try, I said. And we did. It wasn't perfect. Mom still sometimes made comments that stung. Still sometimes compared me to Mark. But she caught herself more often now. Apologized. I visited once a month. We talked every other week. I set boundaries, and when she pushed, I held firm. When she respected them, I appreciated it. Mark and I found a rhythm too. He handled Sunday visits and medical appointments. I handled financial paperwork and long-term planning. We split holiday gatherings. Neither of us carried everything alone. One Sunday in April, Tom and I were having coffee when he said, "You seem lighter." I feel lighter. Proud of how you handled all this. I'm proud too. For the first time in a long time, I'm proud of myself. As you should be. You taught your mother a hard lesson. You taught yourself a harder one. What's that? That you can love someone and still have boundaries. That being a good daughter doesn't mean being a doormat. That your worth isn't determined by how much you sacrifice. I leaned into him. When did you get so wise? Married a teacher. Had to keep up. That Mother's Day, Mark and I visited Meadowview together. We brought flowers and took Mom to brunch at a nice restaurant. Mom looked between us. My children, she said. Both of you. Thank you for being here. To Mark. Thank you for showing up every week. To me. Thank you for coming back. I know I didn't earn it. But I'm grateful. I felt the old hurt stir. the echo of a lifetime of being second, but it was quieter now. Manageable. You're welcome, I said. Because I'd learned something important. You can't change the past. You can't make someone become who you needed them to be. You can't fix decades of hurt with one apology. But you can decide what you'll accept going forward. You can draw lines. You can choose yourself. And sometimes when you do, everyone else learns to step up. Late that night, Tom and I sat on our back porch watching fireflies dance in the darkness. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "How much of my life I spent trying to earn something that should have been freely given. And how I'm not angry about it anymore. Sad maybe, but not angry. That's growth." I smiled. "I suppose it is. The truth is I spent 58 years believing that if I just tried harder, gave more, sacrificed better, my mother would finally see me, value me, love me the way she loved my brother. But love doesn't work that way. You can't earn love from someone who's not capable of giving it equally. You can't fix someone else's broken patterns by breaking yourself." And here's what I learned. Stepping back wasn't revenge. It was self-preservation. It was recognizing that I deserved better. That my time, my effort, my life had value even if the person who should have valued it most never did. When I stopped being endlessly available, something interesting happened. The people who'd taken me for granted suddenly had to face reality. Mark had to actually show up. Mom had to acknowledge what she'd lost when she lost my unconditional service. And in that space we found something new. Not perfect. Not what it should have been. But honest. I think about younger women sometimes, women in their 30s and 40s still trying to earn their parents' approval. Still sacrificing themselves hoping to finally be seen. And I want to tell them, you are already enough. You don't have to prove your worth through endless service. You don't have to accept crumbs while others feast. You don't have to wait until you're nearly 60 to stand up for yourself. Boundaries aren't cruel. They're necessary. They protect you and sometimes they teach others how to treat you better. Did my mother change completely? No. She's 79 years old with deeply ingrained patterns. But she changed enough. She learned enough. And when she couldn't give me everything I deserved, I learned to be okay with that because I'd finally learned to give it to myself. Self-respect. Self-care. Self-love. I gave up waiting to be chosen. I chose myself. And in choosing myself, I taught everyone around me that I was worth choosing. The fireflies blinked in the darkness, tiny lights in an infinite sky. No regrets. Tom asked. I thought about it. Really thought about it. No regrets, I said. Because the only thing I'd regret is not doing it sooner. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe for more tales of justice and redemption.